It's good to get you back on the show, man. It's been a long, long time. I think we spoke last time when you were about to take on Marcin for
That's correct. Yeah, I
ACB.
think that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, so how everything has changed since then, it hasn't been that long.
Uh,
And you've already had two fights in the UFC. This is your third one coming up. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to ask about hashtag Dad Army. You're a corporal. I would figure that you would be a captain. What's going on with that?
well, I'm not overly knowledgeable on my ranks, but no, look, we all follow under suit under Dan Kelly. Dan Kelly's our head of command, so we all follow suit under him.
Now with Dan, he's fought in the UFC. He's a legend in Australia. Having someone like that in your corner and kind of giving you knowledge and giving you guidance, how big of effect has that had on you, in your first two fights with the UFC?
Look, a ton. Look, I've spoken on Dan's influence on me a long time. Even before he was in the UFC, we were pretty heavy training partners in a bit of a smaller invite only sort of group. And his influence, not only towards fighting, but competition in general, has really changed me. I would nowhere near be the level I'm at without his influence. He's extremely hard nosed and unforgiving, and all you're going to get out of him is honesty and appraisal. But it's what you need. It's the sort of sport that you need that sort of person around you.
All right, well, now let's go back to your last fight, UFC 243, more than 50,000 in Marvel Stadium. You talked about redemption after you got the victory. Could you go into more detail with that and how that has affected you moving forward?
Yeah, look, it was a great experience being in front of the largest crowd ever in UFC history in my hometown. Everything was sensational. Obviously, there was the redemption factor in regards to bouncing back after my UFC debut. You know what I mean? You can imagine a lot of fighters coming through. We worked so hard to get there, and to come in there and have that sort of performance in my debut was very crushing. And we went through a lot of issues after that, bouncing back from a fairly hard weight cut, a lot of illness and all that sort of stuff. So coming back from such a low point, it was amazing to get in there. Really have to work hard. That was the first time in a long time I've had to come back from what I'd say would be a 0 point of fitness and conditioning and get back to a healthy state, and then and get in there and fight and win against an extremely tough opponent like Mackey.
That performance against Mackey, do you feel like you performed at the best that you can, or do you feel like your body right now going into this fight, your second camp at welterweight, is extremely much better going in?
Look, it sounds extremely cliche because you hear everyone talk about it, especially
Mm.
this far out from a fight. But it'd be silly not to. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was coming back from such a point to just get back into that fitness shape. Now I've bounced straight back off that. I'm rebounding off that. I've definitely settled back into a welterweight frame now. I'm much bigger and stronger, and everything's just clicking over. You know what I mean? As much as I'm a little bit older and I'll continue to get a little bit older, the body's actually holding together a lot better than last camp, and I'm able to push a little bit harder than I was there. So I'm very, very keen to show a few little things. So I think I did a good performance and got some things done, but there was a lot of areas that I was still very sketchy on in that fight with Mackey, and I'm looking to show in this next one.
Going back to that lightweight debut, I've heard from other people, in the around that it was very, very difficult. Probably a lot of people don't know how difficult it was, but can you go into, the lowest point, leading up to that fight that you got to where it's just like, man, this is just too hard. Like, you must have had people next to you to push you and help you and kind of keep you motivated, right?
Yeah, look, I was very lucky. I had a great team. Obviously, my standard team of coaches, Jamie, Dan, and Andy. But we joined forces with Jordan, who's the fight dietitian, and he came on board. And having him on board and his help, that just made the job easy. You know what I mean? As much as it was extremely difficult, the dieting for the couple of weeks, and obviously extremely difficult, the final weight cut. But having him in control of it all just alleviated a lot of my anxiety. It was hard and it was very stressful. I understood that it was, without the right people around you, it can be a very dangerous situation. But I had the right people around me. So at no stage did I ever feel like I was putting myself under the wrong sort of duress. I was always going to be under duress and under stress, but I was very confident, especially with Jordo in my corner.
Now, Ben, I was talking to him earlier and he was telling me that you have you've been downing the prune juice, like, can you go into that? Like, what is the prune juice? Why is he saying that?
Prune juice. Uh, Ben Sassoli is a very unique character, my friend, and I'm sure there's something going on there. He's probably trying to spark himself up in my dismay. But no, look, we're so stoked the team we've got such a great team, and to come from an Aussie rules background where that's team sport and everyone patting each other on the back, and that's the sort of atmosphere it's been leading into this fight. Myself, Jake, Jimmy, and Ben, and we're all getting ready for the same card. It's an amazing experience. Everyone's working really hard and pushing each other, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
A lot of people, they talk about teams in Australia and New Zealand, and they kind of brush over the team that you guys have. You guys have big team, a massive team. 4 guys that are going to fight on this next card coming up. And you got a bunch of guys that are grinding it out in the regional scene. What is it? Is it at an all-time high right now with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you've got to realize is this is not one particular gym or one particular that's drawn it in. What's drawn this in is we just had open sessions. Dan and I have been doing the same routine now for 7-8 years, and people have just now flocked. And what you find with these sessions is the people that stay are the ones that have success. It's a very hard session. We push hard, we spar hard, we grapple hard. Dan's there to very quickly tell you if you're being a slug and put a rocket up you. So some people don't gravitate towards that. They find it difficult. They find the training too difficult. They find the hard truths too difficult. The people that stay, that's the ones that have success. Jimmy Crute's a great example. Jimmy Crute has known nothing but these sessions. He still does his training everywhere else, but he's been doing it since before he had a pro fight. And now look at him. He's an animal. He's been forged in the hardest fires he can, and that's why he's having success. Jake Matthews, same thing. That's why he's having success. Ben Sassoli since he came over to these sessions, has been on a murderer's row, and he's paying off because we're putting in these hard yards together.
Your opponent coming up, Kenan Song, have you gone into the war room and studied his film, and if you have, what do you see what do you see in him that poses any challenges?
Look, he's a very composed striker. That's why I look at him. He's got a beautiful counter right straight that he's been able to put a couple of strikers down with, but a couple of fighters down with. But I think it's again very similar to the last fight. It's a very cut and dry fight. It's a grappler versus striker. He knows that I want to get hold of him and make him grapple. He wants to keep his distance and punch me in the face, which sadly far too many people have had too much success with, which I've got to alleviate a bit. But it's a fairly straightforward fight. What I look to do is come in there and push pace. I love to do that. I'm not as quick and I'm not as fast as a lot of people think that are going to be a bit younger than me, but I can get in there and push some pace. So I hope he's in great shape, and I hope he's ready for to go 25-minute rounds instead of 3, because that 3 is going to feel like 20.
I believe he's doing his camp at the UFC PI in Shanghai. I believe so. Right now in China, there's some big problems going on with the Wuhan coronavirus, and everything's shut down. And, do you feel like, do you kind of have any concerns, not about the virus, but as in, he might have to pull out the fight, because this is going on and you don't know what can happen?
Yeah, my partner's actually been a bit more over that than I have. She keeps sending me the updates of what's going on. How they're cancelling flights here and cancelling flights there. It's one of those things where I can't sit around and worry about it. If it happens and I have to get an opponent change in the last minute, then I make that adjustment. But at the moment, I'm playing 100% like Kenan's going to be over here and him and I are going to do battle. So until someone else tells me different, that's when I worry about it. I absolutely hope and wish the best health for not only him but everyone that's over there. It's a horrible situation. Illness and all that stuff's never great. So that's a little bit more of a concern when I think about that stuff, that the health of himself and everyone else over there. But I'm playing like he'll be over here in Auckland on the 22nd, and we'll get to tussle.
Yeah, UFC Auckland, it's about a 4-month turnaround. How long has this camp been? Has it been longer than normal, or you just going, it's just a normal camp? I'm not putting too much focus on one particular thing. I'm just working hard.
Yeah, we just work hard year round. That's what's another great thing about our group. I think I took maybe 1 week off after the Mackey fight and made sure everything was nicely healed up, and straight back to training. We've kept a pretty relentless pace with the 4 of us being aimed towards that card for quite a while now. We've been going hard for quite a while. All four of us are in sensational shape and hardened and ready to go. You know what I mean? As much as, again, we point out that fighting is a solo experience and you get there by yourself, it's got a real team feel about it. We keep talking about, instead of talking about how we're going to win our fights, all we keep talking about is going 4 for 4. That's the big aim with Dad's Army. We all want to get in there and make sure we're all firing, we're all healthy, and we're all ready to go, and we're coming out with 4 wins.
So you want to have everybody chanting Dad's Army when they're leaving the arena, right?
That'd be great. A bit of Dad's Army, get behind it. That's a great little hashtag, you know what I mean? Dad's Army, I like.
Your training partners, of course, you have Jake Matthews. He's fighting on the card. He's another welterweight. Who are the other welterweights that you're working with, or maybe even middleweights or lightweights?
We've got, like you pointed out, we've got a great team. Not only do we have the 4 guys that are competing in the UFC, but we have some sensational guys in the local scene. A couple other really good names at the same weight class. There's C. Cars, who's a local guy and doing really good. He's about to burst through the ceiling and show his sort of stuff. Also, a former combatant of mine named Sam Haywood, sharpshooter. He's actually just recently in the last 6 months joined our team as well. He's been an amazing partner. So both of them have been busting their backsides, getting rounds in for myself and Jakey and Jimmy and Ben, and really putting themselves on line. They're not missing any sessions either. And as you can see, same with I see with City Kickboxing, that's what makes these teams and helps people get to this level. Instead of just being there for yourself and making sure that you're ready for your fight, you're getting there and getting rounds in for the other guys, just like we do. We finish our fights, some of those guys will be fighting on Hex and AFC and Eternal and all the local shows down in Australia. We'll get back and make sure they're ready for their fights too.
When I spoke with you the first time, you were saying I need to get out there on the international scene, and you are on the international scene, but you've been fighting in Australia. Now you're fighting in New Zealand. Do you feel like, okay, after this fight, I need to go stateside, I need to spread my wings, or are you just comfortable fighting in New Zealand or Australia?
Yeah, look, obviously my main focus at the moment is Kenan in New Zealand. But look, I love to travel and fight. Like I remember expressing to you a while back that a goal of mine is to be able to travel the world fighting. You know what I mean? It's a great part of our sport that we get to go around and see different places and get involved in different places. I'm absolutely keen on doing that. So yes, that's absolutely a goal. Get past, hopefully get our job done on UFC Auckland, get a good win, and then and start looking to travel abroad and get some more fights abroad.
Yeah, you get a win. That's 2 in a row. Are there any welterweights out there that you want to compete against? There's got to be some guys that tickle your fancy, so to say.
Absolutely. Like I wouldn't be silly enough to name names at the moment. I'm more, like I said, there's a laundry list of guys that I would love to compete against. That's my big dream. There's some guys that I'd love to stand across the cage on, not because I think I'm going to throw them around, but I just think that's a fun fight. You know what I mean? That's a bloke that we can go in there and make some memories with. Get in there and bleed and sweat and cry and make sure that when I sit back and I'm 60 years old with a beer in the backyard, that I can rewatch a fight with that guy and go, yeah, I was happy that I got to spend some time with them.
Definitely. Now, one last thing before I let you go. The definition of success in combat sports. Everybody has a different definition. Some people think it's belts. You have a lot of those. Some people think it's money. Some people think it's legacy. What is it for you?
Well, that's a really good question, and there's no right or wrong answer, which is a great one. But my big one, like I keep expressing, like I just said then, is memories. You know what I mean? Like I love the ability, and I love hanging around with people like Sam Greco and Andy Colgrave and Dan now, and sitting down and talking about old war stories and the times they've travelled and done this and travelled and done that. The memories that you can make with this sport are amazing, and I want to be able to do that. I love the memories of talking about fights and fight trips and fight camps and preps and weight cuts and all that sort of stuff, and sharing your knowledge with other people. That's my goal, going there and make some sensational memories.
All right, February 23rd, you're going to make some more memories. UFC on ESPN Plus 26, Auckland, New Zealand. Callan, thank you so much for the time, and good luck on the fight, man.
True. Thank you very much, my friend. We'll see you guys all in Auckland.